Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Fast X. This was a movie that, so before this even came out, I'd never really watched a lot of the Fast and the Furious movies. It was one of those franchises that, like, you know, there's always one of those big franchises that you've never watched before. It seems like everyone else around you has watched them and you've never really watched it before. That was kind of me with the Fast and the Furious series. Over the past month leading up to this, I just watched all, technically 10, including Hobbs and Shaw. And I actually liked them a lot. I know that a lot of people don't seem to like a lot of the newer ones, or even just in general like the series, because of like the very unrealistic things. But I guess I don't care, because I enjoy watching like mindless, just fun action scenes with all these characters that they've built up since the first movie, and it's just fun to watch. It doesn't need to be such a, you know, very artistic cinema masterpiece thing. I enjoy it, and I actually had a lot of fun watching this one in particular. So right before we dive into this review, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, letting me know that you guys like the content that we put out here. And there will be two parts to this video. I'll kind of like have like tags and stuff at the bottom. We're gonna do a non-spoiler and a spoiler, just kind of depending on what you've seen, what you haven't seen. So let's get started with the non-spoiler review. So just kind of as a general like thing, the whole reason I enjoy the Fast and the Furious series in general, and I kind of talked about this before, but it's just because of just what it is. It knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be more than that. It just knows that it's a fun car movie about a group of, like, a family. And this movie sees that. It's not trying to be, you know, like Mission Impossible, like world catastrophic ending. This, like, what the main villain Dante, Jason Momoa's character, is doing in this is all very personal with Dom. He doesn't want to attack the world. He doesn't want to like blow up the earth and gain all this control. He just wants Dom gone for what he did to his family. And that's as much as I can kind of get into it without spoiling anything. But that's why I loved this one a lot, because it just focuses on that part of the movie, like that part of the franchise, instead of like with Fast like 8 and I think even 9, it was very like, let's blow up the world, or let's gain world control power and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's not really what the whole point of this franchise is about, though. The thing I love most about this movie in particular is that it really does feel like the beginning of the end. Everything that happens, I can't really get into too much spoilers, but it just feels like, wow, like this is the final, like, way we're going. Like, this is the final plot point. And I just think that that's, like, so well written. Like, the way that it's done, and the way that, like, certain characters pop up at different moments, and you have all this kind of stuff going on. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And the way that like kind of infuses with the action scenes is also pretty neat. Again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's the non-spoiler part of the review. The one thing I will say is that this movie feels very, like, deserving. Like, we've had, what, 10 Fast and the Furious movies now, if you want to include Hobbs and Shaw. And this just, the whole time you're watching this, you're like, wow, like, what it took to get to this point. Like, even just like at John Cena, he was in Fast 9. And what it took to get to that point, where he was like, oh, like he was Dom's, you know, almost enemy. He was his brother, but he was his enemy. And now throughout this movie, you'll see what he does, and it's just like, that's crazy. I do want to quick talk about Dante, because I really liked him as a villain. He might actually be my favorite Fast and the Furious villain. The best way I can describe him is he kind of feels like if Fast and the Furious met with Joker, because he's just like very goofy, but is like sinister. Like, he does not care. Like, he almost has nothing to lose. And that, if you know, that's pretty scary for a villain, to not have anything to lose, because that means that they can pretty much do whatever they want. The last thing I do want to say as part of my non-spoiler review is that it felt like everyone had a part in this. Like every individual person felt like they were contributing something in this movie. And it wasn't just like, oh, like they're there doing this. What are they doing? That I really enjoyed. I thought that like everything that like each member of the family was doing felt important. So that's what I just have to say about the movie as far as non-spoiler go. I did really enjoy this movie. So please go see it for yourself in theaters. And then after you watch it, check out my spoiler part of this review. Right, let's talk spoilers. So obviously one of the bigger new characters in this movie is Tess, being Brie Larson, Mr. Nobody's daughter. And they never really like I don't think Mr. Nobody's dead. They kind of just say that he's like missing, and they kind of like throw air quotes around that, so I expect that he'll probably be in future movies, in the final 2 parts of Fast X. But my favorite thing like about Tess is that she just kind of is like, yep, I'm here, and now I'm gonna just help out Dom Toretto because of what he's done. And she even goes to like this bar and just beats up a whole bunch of people, and even just shows up on the highway with like this gun, which I thought was pretty cool. So obviously I think she does get shot, but I think she ends up being fine. So we can definitely look forward to her in the other 2 finale parts of Fast X. So one thing that I did not know going into this movie, and I was like, the heck, when he showed up, is that Pete Davidson is in this movie. When Roman Pierce and his gang are in London and they're trying to like find black market like stuff because they can't like be found and everything, Pete Davidson is in like this shop, and that scene was just really funny. Pete Davidson essentially plays himself, kind of like more of like a scaredy cat, like pothead kind of guy, and he makes these muffins that Han ends up tripping out on, which is pretty funny. But I just thought that there was like a really weird thing. Like I didn't even know that Pete Davidson was going to be in this movie for like even this like that brief cameo. So I thought that that was something pretty neat that they did. Another part of this movie was, so little Brian was kind of like being like hot potatoed around essentially, because they didn't want him to get captured by Dante and his crew. And there becomes this whole thing, like at first I think, yeah, so Jacob, John Cena, takes him and like kind of goes on like this whole like journey throughout the movie, and like they like kind of go in and out of it at different points, but there's this whole like thing where they're going through the airport and they're on a plane, and then they like get in this like, it almost looks like a kayak, but it's not. It's like some like weird airplane thing. I don't know it. I thought it was a kayak. I thought they were going on like a river adventure through the rapids for something at first, but it wasn't that. It was like some weird flying device thingy, and they end up going into this cave. I'm not sure if it's the one that was in Fast 9. I don't think it is, but I could be wrong. I think it could be the one that they used in Fast 9. But that was that was a pretty cool part of the movie until they like had to like get out of there because Dante was coming for them, and then like there becomes this whole chase, and Dante gets little Brian, like he hijacks little Brian, tries to fix the thing on the back of his car, and then he like grabs him and takes him into the car, and then they have to get him. That was a pretty cool action scene, by the way. That had a lot of cool like different moving parts and stuff. One thing that like kind of set like shivers down my spine, which I know is like a very like Caleb, like that's a very cliche thing to say, but there was this whole scene where Vin Diesel goes into the old police station from Fast 5, and you can see like it's abandoned now because it was Dante's father who died, and it's this very like, it literally looks like something from like Arkham Asylum. Like I literally like I know I keep comparing Dante to like the Joker, but he's very much like an obsessive, crazy dude, like the Joker. Like it looked like something from Arkham Asylum. And he goes in, and it's just all these different photos and videos of Dom's family, and I was like, whoa, this guy is like crazy obsessed. I thought that was pretty cool, and like like weird and like just definitely like set the tone for who and like what Dante is. I can kind of quick talk about the action scenes. There was one in particular, obviously the Rome scene was like awesome. With like, I think my favorite part of that was like Letty on the motorcycle, and she had to like get close to Dante so that they could like stop him from triggering the bomb, but then like he eventually gets out of reach for her. And that's why she ends up going to the ice base, like the black, like the black site prison or whatever it's called. I don't know. But in Rome, like there just was so much like cool like there was this one part, and I know it was in the trailer, but I just thought it was neat, like when like Letty did like the tire jump thing like over the one obstacle. I thought that was pretty cool, and like then she just kept going. Obviously a lot of the Fast and Furious is like based off of action, so like that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think that the action was really cool, especially like, you know, with Dom Toretto driving down a dam and then using nitro to get out of it. Obviously we don't know what's gonna happen after that, because that's where the movie ends. Because yeah, the movie literally ends with him like after he gets off the dam, then Dante's like, all right, I'm done playing around, and he blows up the dam, and they don't have a car anymore, so I don't know how they're planning on getting out of a dam that's about to come down with like tons of water. We'll see. Maybe they're just both expert swimmers. We do get introduced to Isabel, which is actually Elena's sister, and if you guys remember Elena, she was in The Fate of the Furious. She's also the mother of little Brian and Dominic's child. She has a sister. Her name is Isabel, and she actually gets introduced to us. So they go to this street race, which, by the way, this street race was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, because it's such a nod to the original, but then it like gets corrupted by Dante when he like attaches these bombs to the other drivers' cars, except for Dom, and makes him choose who to save. It was such a good twist on the typical street race, and it really hit home, I felt, like, just for the whole series. Because those movies, like, every time we've had a street race, it's just a fair street race. Whoever wins takes the prize. And when Dante did it, he did that, like, he attached the bombs to the car. I was like, wow. And just the theme and the music, it all felt very, just well done. Very well done. And it had like this whole thing of like Dante's people and Dom's people like pointing guns at each other. It just felt like this whole like just scene from like a mafia movie or something, where like the whole like crowd was about to attack each other. That was pretty cool. The final two things I do want to talk about, which are the most probably spoiler things, is the fact that Giselle is alive at the very end of the movie when when Letty, I almost said Lessie, when Letty and, I can't even think of her name, the blonde lady that's evil from Fate of the Furious, Fast 9, and, well, she's not really evil in this one, so, but when they escape and they get to the top with the submarine, or it's like a submarine, Giselle pops out, just like that, and everyone, like, when I went to go see it, everyone in my theater just gasped. We were all like, wait a minute, like, and obviously we never saw her die in Fast 6. So that was a pretty cool moment. Probably like the biggest shocked moment that I was in that whole movie. Like that was cool. It was a very cool moment. And then the end credit scene ends with Hobbs. So we know Hobbs will be in at least part 2 of like with Hobbs going to this like site, and he sees that Dante is like drawing him out because yes, Dom did hit him with the car and injured him, but The Rock, Agent Hobbs, was the one who delivered that final blow and killed him. So I feel like we're definitely going to get to see like Hobbs go after like his village that we saw in Hobbs and Shaw, which I'm very glad we got Hobbs and Shaw now, because that gives such a family aspect to Hobbs to really like, I know this is kind of like a terrible thing to say, but like for Dante to go after, and I feel like he might even go after his daughter, which could be scary. So I guess we will see what happens with that. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed this movie. I'll leave my quick rank, like, letter star review up here somewhere, and you can also always check my letterbox that I have in my my channel description. But overall, like I said, I enjoyed this movie a lot, and I'm very much looking forward to part 2 and 3 and just the series ending as a whole, because I think this has the potential to be the best of those movies, just based on how much they're focusing on their family specifically and their troubles versus just like this whole worldwide phenomenon thing. And I think that that's just a very great way to end this trilogy. And I'm glad that they're not doing like some world catastrophic event thing. I'm very excited to see how this series ends. So thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to stay tuned for more movie reviews like this. Peace, everyone.